up, guys? This is my first time recording this sort of video, so go easy on me. If I seem strange, it's because I'm really shy. This video is a celebration, okay? I made this video to celebrate the fact that in 2025, we sold over 100 copies of the score for The Rest Is Memory. That's the number of people that played this music. It's not even just listening to it. The last reel I published about the piece got over 100,000 views. This is classical music, guys. It's the one and only Digo Double G. So really, thank you very much. It means a lot all the time you guys took to reach out to me. I got the chance to talk to a lot of you asked me about the music, and there was a lot of enthusiasm to understand more about it. A lot of you who are my friends who aren't musicians discovered the piece with me as I guided you through it or helped, shape environments where it was easier to listen for detail. And I mean, seeing so many people get teary and cry about the music, it made me think that it would be something really valuable to make a video talking about the piece and answering a lot of the questions that I've heard repeatedly. The title of the piece is The Rest Is Memory for saxophone and ensemble, the ensemble being a string orchestra, piano and harp. And this is an unusual piece for me because it's the first time I ever got to write whatever I wanted. It was commissioned by Mikael Flores at the Sibelius Academy in Helsinki, in Finland. I remember being on the phone with him and I said, so what do you need? Because constraints in classical music tend to be pretty strong, And for the first time, I got a call where someone said, just do whatever you want. I think that's why this piece is so special. So how do you write? Where does the music come from? It's not really an intellectual process for me. I think the genius behind this music is really the fact that it doesn't come from thinking. And it comes from feeling. A lot of my students especially, they ask me what the formula behind writing music like this is or what the techniques are. And a little bit like along the lines of what Nietzsche said, there's more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophies. And so I spent a lot of time meditating and feeling and chasing particular feelings that are like springs. If you guys know David Lynch, he talks about fishing for ideas.
These ideas are coming to us all, bubbling up. I always liken it to fishing.
The specifics that drove this piece, the specific feeling or underlying idea that drove it, is this idea that a word in German really expresses really well. The word is Sehnsucht, okay? And forgive me for my German viewers or German followers. I don't know if I'm gonna explain this perfectly. The word refers to the notion of nostalgia for something that hasn't really happened. And this piece was built around a particular idea of Sehnsucht, which is this feeling that you get when you see an opportunity come your way and you have to let it go. And then it's an opportunity you want. It's kind of like a train comes by you, and you see it and you're like, this train leads me to the most beautiful future. I know it and I can see it, but I have to let it go. Watching the train go, that puts a nostalgia for something that didn't happen in you. That's what this piece is about. The second component is the component that the title comes from. The Rest Is Memory is the last line of a poem by Louise Gluck, an American poet, I believe she is. American poet. So it's a beautiful poem, Nostos, which means homecoming in Greek, I believe. Let me check. Nostos, Greek. Homecoming in ancient Greek. Such a cultivated man.
You smart.
She beautifully describes the world of her childhood. Substitution of the immutable for the shifting, the evolving substitution of the image for the relentless earth. What do I know of this place? The role of the tree for decades taken by a bonsai, voices rising from the tennis courts. Field, smell of the tall grass, new cut. And then the poem ends with two short, beautiful sentences. We look at the world once in childhood. The rest is memory. The foundation of the piece, nostalgia for something that hasn't happened. The rest is memory comes into play to embody the notion that all those dreams of beauty and that future that you envision and that entire feeling of nostalgia is built in your childhood. So there's an amazement and a wonder that I feel towards the combination of both those concepts. The little quote that's inside the score by Dostoevsky: I could not become anything, neither a good nor bad, neither a scoundrel nor an honest man, neither a hero nor an insect. And now I'm eking out my days in my corner, taunting myself with the bitter and entirely useless consolation that an intelligent man cannot seriously become anything, that only a fool can become something. Okay, so to me this quote is the perfect embodiment of the maximum form of expression of this feeling. So I think that's beautiful. It's kind of dark, but it's beautiful. Okay, so let's walk through the piece a little bit. So the piece is structured around one idea, one motive, which is the motive that I wrote to represent that feeling of nostalgia that we talked about. I was thinking of some things that are too personal to explain in the video, but you know, you can kind of imagine your own version of Sehnsucht or of this nostalgia for a train that you can't catch. Okay, so the beginning of the piece is where you hear that theme immediately. This next part of the theme, I don't know if you've ever seen someone who's older talking about their past. There's something really moving about their restraint in the expression of their emotions, and I've seen them very often speak very quietly about something that is very dear to them but that is gone and is therefore painful. And it's like they smile and at the same time, you know, like a little tear goes down their eye. You know that sort of moment? So that's what the next part of the phrase is about. Right? That's like the smile, and this is the tear. You see, I put a lot of thought into all of this, right? And the phrase repeats twice because this first version of the phrase is like, you know, Grandma, tell me about, you know, that time that you were, about James who died in the war, or, you know, were you ever in love or whatever, and you know, she starts saying, yeah, I was. But it's a really sad story. And then, you know, the grandchildren insist and they're like, what do you mean, you know? You fell in love with someone? And she's like, yeah, I did. And it was beautiful. But I don't want to talk about that. It was many years ago, and she starts again. And this time it closes differently, because they allow themselves to deepen into the memory, right? And think of how beautiful it was. You know, a lot of people have these feelings that they repressed for a really long time, and they don't really allow themselves to think because you have to be functional in life, especially in my grandparents' generation, with life being as brutal as it was in northern Spain. And so now's when they start, you know, really going into the depths of the pain about it. The end of the first phrase is a representation of that expression of pain that also elder people seem to embody really well, which is when things are really, really painful, really painful at a deep level, normally you don't express them with anger or by yelling or by really crying. It feels like a needle and a thread going through skin. It's like a very poignant, thin, silent sort of thing. When a person really can't take it anymore, it's a very silent moment. And then Grandma finishes telling the story. She says, I don't know, I'm gonna go cook lunch or whatever. So why is this phrase so important structurally for the piece? Because you might have not heard it, but later on in the piece, that phrase is buried into what the saxophone is playing. And so I kind of thought of it as a journey where we first hear that theme, the nostalgia theme, from a place of sadness and perhaps giving up or setting the tone, sort of like this is where we're starting. And then the piece evolves and grows. And this is where your interpretation comes in, because it's not even clear to me. It evolves and grows into a place where life wins. I don't really know if the person behind the music beats life and is able to find a way to catch the train. I don't know if they lose and they're just, expressing they're just mourning the loss in a more extreme way. But whatever the case may be, they try, they go out, they don't just die away. Which I think that this sort of approach to life is really the way to win.
And I am Iron Man.
Because the whole message behind the piece of music is that really it doesn't matter if you win or if you lose. What matters is that you burn life at its maximum intensity. And what I mean by this, by burning it, is its translation from Spanish. There's a poet, his name is Eduardo Galeano. He has this poem called Un mar de fueguitos. And so he says, for those of you who speak Spanish, hay gente de fuego sereno que ni se entera del viento, y gente de fuego loco que llena el aire de chispas. Algunos fuegos bobos, no alumbran ni queman, pero otros arden la vida con tantas ganas que no se puede mirarlos sin parpadear, y quien se acerca se enciende. He's equating people to little fires. He says some don't light up or burn anything. He calls them dumb fires, okay? And others burn life with such fiercity or with such strength that you can't look at them without blinking. And if you get close, you get lit up too. The message of this piece is advocating being one of those fires that no matter what, just burns, right? And brightens up the world. You guys remember the smile and the tear? It's also there, but kind of mixed between the saxophone and the violins. When we first hear this, it's just kind of a complacent evolution of the story. But this time, Grandma's back and she's fighting, and it sort of evolves into a roar. The dark harmony that comes from it. It's not. It's. It's so pretty. I don't think it was so tied to an old woman when I was writing it, but I can really imagine the spirit of this old lady really fighting, Anyway, so then it continues with the same theme buried underneath. There are all these hidden messages you guys probably didn't even notice. We talk about one melody, but as the piece evolves, there are all these different motives. The piano comes in, and then the harp comes in with it, filling in the rhythm gaps. So if the piano's doing, the harp's doing. There's this concept that one of my beloved composition teachers taught me once. He used this painting. It's called Day and Night, right? So you see the white birds coming out of the dark space, the dark birds coming out of the light space, and sort of everything taking shape from the contrast with what's around it. So this is a concept that really translates to, I think, everything in life, not just good music writing. The piano has a gap here. When it hits that top note, there's a space, which the harp fills up. That continues until the strings come in. Okay, so here you can imagine whatever you want. Right now I'm thinking of Grandma just telling more of the details of her story. It was a misty morning and I was riding the train in Germany or whatever to meet Giovanni on the other side of the river. And the saxophone comes in. Maybe it's Giovanni or I don't know. Now, there's not much going on. There's just one character. And we have a little melody in the cello. Okay, so now is when it starts getting interesting. There's this concept called counterpoint in music. Counterpoint's the study or the practice of having multiple melodies happen at the same time and work together. Also contribute to creating harmony together, because if you have several lines like right, they create chords as well. We have that melody in the cello. Now the violins come in. Sustain this note here and go back down. There's such a beauty to simplicity, guys. A lot of people ask me why I spend so many hours and so many days and so many weeks writing. It's because it's really hard to find, to develop access to simplicity that works. And as Steve Jobs said, and Brahms advocated in his late life, if you think simple, you move mountains, right? So there's a conversation, right? We have the little black or white bird in the cello, and then that note is the same note that the violins pick up, and the sax comes in. They're all talking to each other and they're all building the piece. And you can then give meaning to them, you know, you can think, like, it's different emotions of the old lady, you know, that we were talking about, like, you know, I don't know if you guys know that Vine, I'm so old, but, like, there was this Vine of this guy singing that Christmas carol where it's like, the, baby, it's cold outside, and
Really can't stay, baby, it's cold outside, I've got to go away, baby, it's cold.
sort of like that, okay, like, you can think the cello melodies are, you know, her sadness, and the other ones are her hope, you know, or whatever you want. But there's just so many stories and so many beautiful things to feel here. Okay, now is one of the coolest moments as well. First half of the piece, I save bullets by not using the lower end. Then when I drop to the low end, I completely drop the high end, and it's left completely unused, so that when it comes in, it's like, you know, you can really hear it. And so this is the first time we hear the first violin. now another thing. You guys know how in all the action movies, there's the experienced guy or girl who's been doing the bank robberies for a while, and they know how to hold before shooting or before doing something. I think that in all areas of life, when you're at the moment of maximum intensity, if you have the distance to restrain, you're able to create beautiful things. And so restraint in this case would be, a lot of us might have had an instinct to give, the strings like something crazy, or give them lines with a lot of movement. Because the saxophone has a lot of movement, the strings shouldn't, but it's not just that. I really wanted there to be a noticeable, emotional roar to the landing of this moment. And I think one of the things that contributes to it the most is the fact that the violins don't move from the note that they're at. They stay on this note, and then the basses come in. The violins just hold there while everyone else is moving. Holding that note keeps the tension, it keeps the tension, and your ear and your ear, or you are just wondering, where's it going? Where's it going? It's like holding on to a cliff, you hold on to it and it's like, well, you can't hold on forever, so what's happening? And it's creating this forward motion. And again, none of this comes from technique, none of this comes from studying fugues and how to write them. It comes from just really being in touch with the feeling and letting it drive music out of you. And also, over a decade, writing music helps, There's also a really, really good teacher I had who kind of saved my life in music school when I was younger, because he guided me when no one else was really giving me the guidance I needed. He was a jazz player.
Not quite my tempo.
And he said to me, Aaron, a lot of the difference between good and bad musicians is good musicians just know that there's a lot of value in not playing. Value in silence, right? And in space. And you can hear it in the violins here that I just give them, 2 bars of rest or something like that. Not 2 bars of rest, a few beats of rest, right? That's what gives them character and weight and maturity. And it's just like in life, you have a meeting, right? You have a business meeting, you're trying to impress people, or you like a girl or a guy, and you want to seem confident, right? The most confident people are usually the ones that don't feel a need to talk all the time. And it's hard to fake that, Because silence gives value to existence, Like death and life and all this stuff. It's all the same. There's a lot of work put into the structure too. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the golden mean. It's a mathematical proportion. I kind of learned after the fact that if you use the golden mean to structure climax in music, it kind of falls around the 75% mark. I've always kind of done this instinctively. I think most composers have throughout history, but very consciously placed the climax of the piece around the 75% mark. I think it's the 75% mark. Maybe I'm wrong, okay? I mean, not in my piece, but maybe within the exact ratio, the 2 to 3 ratio. The piece is made so that if you listen to it, for every moment to hit exactly right in contrast with the rest, it's just placed in time so that happens. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of The Rest is Memory. And I want to thank you all so much. You who wrote to me from all over the world, from the United States, from Europe, from Asia, from South America. I wanted to say that, I've read every single one of your messages. It's really meant a lot. And I'm excited to announce that I'm going to be releasing some new music this year that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a very different project for an instrument a lot of you probably don't know. Just a reminder that I do teach online. I have a composition studio. I'm a film composer as well, so I teach music production, music composition, orchestration, MIDI orchestration, hybrid composition, digital acoustic. If you want to talk to me or join my community of students, please reach out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.